Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter for those that celebrate it. We are so glad that you are here. Welcome to our April weekly week one setup. We are so glad you're here. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your on-screen facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, so it's a little bit later in the day for you guys, not nearly as late as some of my usual ones. But it is so glad to see so many of our returning socialers, as well as some of those folks that joined myself and my co-facilitator, Bailey, at the April monthly setup. Bailey is going to be in the chat with all of you guys coming in from Tennessee. So we are always excited to work together. It's a great way to spend a Sunday. It's a great way to get ready for our week ahead, ready for the new month ahead, as well as embrace a new month's theme and everything that comes with it. So like I said, I love seeing all of our returning socialers. It's always so nice to see everyone's name pop up in the chat. It's like seeing and greeting old friends. But let us know in the chat, make sure it's set to everyone if you want to share your tips, tricks, or ask questions and all the fun things. If you just have hosts and panelists, that just comes to myself and Bailey, and we can always answer questions that way. But let us know if this is your first social, or let us know if this is your first weekly setup social. We always like to see who our new folks are because we love when newer folks join us. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes, a little bit on the kind of sensory overload, and that's okay. Take a couple deep breaths. No one is grading your work, so maybe you're going to be working a little bit in your journal, or maybe you're just here for the chat and the inspiration and the ideas. So make sure you've got maybe your phone handy to take screenshots, or if you're on your computer, make sure you have your kind of snippet ready to go to take some of those. But it definitely becomes a little bit of an art form for kind of how you work and operate in these socials. But we are so excited that you're here. And don't worry if you don't have your journal yet, we will provide some of the pages and the prompts. So you just grab some Post-it notes or extra paper and you can jot down those notes there. And then you can always review this social and the previous ones that are posted in the YouTube link that we'll provide at the end. But welcome to all of our new folks. We are so glad you're here. As a reminder, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. You can always ask myself and Bailey some customer care questions, but most of those we will send over to headquarters at hello@silkensonder.com because we do not have access to the individual accounts. Also, have no worries. You will not be on camera. I will be the only one on camera. I will be the only one talking. My music will be the only thing playing. So you can relax, get comfortable, grab those snacks, something to drink, have your journal ready to go with all the fun stickers, everything you need. And Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. You're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if you're feeling anxious or you're in a bit of a funk or you're feeling a little lost, a little scattered, don't worry. We are glad that you're here. Sometimes it is the hardest to admit when you're in those type of moods, but we are glad that you have come as you are. We are glad that you are here, and we cannot wait to continue this journey with all of you. And so I will say the very first prompt that we're doing, normally we do a weekly mind map, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but we are going to be reflecting on the past couple months. So if you had a rough go with the past couple months starting in January, then I will say that this reflection may be a little difficult, but give yourself a little bit of grace, take some deep breaths, jot down some notes, and maybe revisit it when you're in a little slightly different headspace, but just as a kind of an acknowledgement there. But we always like the opportunity to kind of get into that reflective mode, especially when we hit one of those kind of annual milestone type things. So we are embracing a new month, a new theme. And so this month's theme is play. And the definition of that coming from the monthly social was engage in activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical practical purpose. So play is, I think, a really fun opportunity to kind of lean into maybe some of your hobbies. But if play can be a little bit tricky because of whatever word association that you're used to, you can also use some of the synonyms, which I do think some of the synonyms are really great because synonyms for play, ironically, are relax, rest, frolic, romp, and cavort. I am a big fan of the frolic, romp, and cavort just because maybe some of the adult overtones that are there and I get a kick out of it. But I feel like we've also had the last couple months is kind of really great deep themes, but they've always been a little bit more on the actionable side. So maybe this is a good opportunity for almost like a palate cleanser of that. You've had kind of had key goals, had a lot of momentum. Ambition and confidence were big, meaty things that you didn't feel like you could do something unless you had things done. And so maybe now is a good opportunity to embrace maybe some of the relax or rest, or even just the fun and enthusiasm about it. I come from a science background, so the fact that play is considered the highest form of research, I think is fantastic. Because I mean, I feel like that's exactly what it is. You go in really not knowing with the full power of, I'm going to learn something, I'm going to figure something out, I'm going to do something new. How is that not the coolest way to do it? It's like, I am now going to play because it is for science and it is for research. So if you're sitting there drawing and coloring in your April journal, someone says, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm researching. AKA I am playing. And so I think that's a really fun perspective to do it, as well as kind of a like homage to kind of the learning and understanding and realization that you kind of do when you're a kid or even just in new situations. So why not embrace the kind of research and development side of play? And so for today, we're going to cover the agenda. So it's going to be the bonus mind map. We're going to do the Rosebud Thorn as well as the weekly setup pages. And just because I prompt some of these and move past the slides, don't worry, put in the chat that you would just want to revisit some of the slides and I will scroll back and forth once I come off camera and turn on the music. So we have completed our March mind map, so you don't need to revisit that. And then we will be setting up the April mind map next week. And so the mind map is something that we do at the weekly setups as a way to kind of knit all of the weekends together as we have an opportunity, usually 4 times a month, to dive a little bit deeper into the theme. But because we've had some kind of 5-week, kind of months, let's be honest, the 4 squares look a little bit nicer in the notebook. But now we have an opportunity, especially with this being the closeout of the first quarter, as just kind of a bonus prompt. And so if you've been with us since the beginning of this year, the first quarter, we went through ambition, confidence, and momentum. This is now your opportunity to kind of do a first quarter check-in and reflection. So it's things you can look at are, how have you grown since January? What have you changed? What have you added to your life? Maybe what have you subtracted? This is a moment to honor your growth as well as celebrate kind of the progress that you're made. And then don't worry, if you're new to Silk and Sonder and you haven't explored all of these areas, you can certainly jot them down, but you can also turn into this of kind of like, here's maybe where I would like to see myself in the next 3 months, because we know that there's going to be an opportunity to check in as a mid-month to see what progress we've made. I've also added some reframing ideas with, don't forget to be kind to yourself. It may not be what you expected, but there's still opportunities. It's one of those things we always say, you already have the party planned, the band is already here, the food is already ordered. You may just need to take some changes to those banners because the celebration was always going to be there, but it may look a little bit different. There is no scale on this progress. Nothing is too big and nothing is too small. And then sometimes if you have a hard time of like looking at it in such a big kind of zoomed out look, maybe you just need to focus back in on one area or one habit or one routine that you've maybe added, or one that you took out, or one that you're focusing on. Or if all of this is just maybe a little overwhelming, you can ask yourself these questions. What was one thing you did that was ambitious? And this could have been at the beginning of the year. This could have been last week. This could have been this morning. Or one thing that gave you confidence, one way you maybe handled momentum. And then as always, if you didn't explore these themes or you didn't particularly like any of these themes, you can always just come up with something of how you kind of want to start, stop, or continue either the theme that you like or under the new theme of play, similar to what we did in the intentions or the reflections at the beginning of this month. So with that being said, the weekly mind map is something that is unique to the week. So find a blank spot in your journal and we're going to reflect on what progress we've made on the first quarter. And then if you haven't quite been with us that long, don't worry, you can use some of these questions to figure out maybe a path of where you want to go. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing just kind of the special nature it is to kind of zoom out and look at, not only what's happened in the last 24 hours, 48 hours last week, but to zoom out over the course of 3 months, which I think is really special to be able to reflect it. But also not only seeing the kind of things that you accomplished or the activities that you did, but maybe tapping into some of those kind of more emotional and internal inspirational, finding the inspiration with this, the excitement to do this, realizing, as Kate put it, that she's actually kinder to herself. And I think those are a lot of really big struggles that a lot of us have. And sometimes you can't quite write them down on paper or, post them on the fridge for the kind of gold star, those type of things. But it's those little opportunities to step back and see the type of progress that's made, because we know it's not linear. We know it's not smooth. We know it can be all over the place. But the fact that we have the opportunity to just take those 5-10 minutes to look at it. And if you haven't quite, answered the question to its fullest, don't worry. You have the rest of this week to kind of come back and look at this. But I would certainly encourage, as part of your kind of journal routine, is to find some ways to reflect back on, the good, the bad, and everything in between, because there's something really powerful of being able to celebrate your wins. And a lot of times that's just you internally celebrating them, as well as acknowledging some of those tougher struggles, and kind of a less judgmental form, and just kind of the release of being able to kind of acknowledge those type of things, I think is great. So, in the continued theme of reflection, we're going to move to the Rosebud Thorn section, which again, this is a weekly staple. You have the opportunity and the privilege to reflect back on your previous week. So, if you're still closing out your March journal, this is going to be on page 56. If you have moved over to the April journal, there is not a place for this quite yet, just because we haven't completed a week in April, but you can find a quick blank note page in your April journal or on the scratch pad or on the weekly setup, or pull one of the shopping lists or one of those repurposing things. So this is an opportunity to acknowledge again those maybe hard points, the thorns, which were the challenges, something that didn't go well, something that was a bit of a roadblock, a stumbling block, something that you just wish you could do again, as well as the budge, which is something to get excited about, an emerging opportunity, something that is kind of out on the horizon that you really don't know if it's going to be a rose or a thorn or maybe just going to be a thing. And then the rose is the highlight or the win for the week, something that made you smile, something that made you happy. So for me, the rose, I went to a traditional Scottish ceilidh where I learned how to dance. And it was a fun, chaotic live music scene that you kind of got really up close and personal with, a couple hundred of your new friends. But really fun. Certainly enjoyed it. And then the bud, we haven't had daylight savings time yet over here in Scotland. So I'm really excited to have that. It's going to happen tonight. So that means I'm going to have longer days. The sun hopefully is going to be out more. The sun's actually out right now. So I'm really excited to have the longer days in daylight, which means I can go on a little bit more adventures. And I'm really excited because I have some really fun things planned for those. The thorn, something that is just taking up space in my mind right now. I'm in just one of those funks where, every time you look in the mirror, nothing is quite working out. Hair isn't quite what it's supposed to be doing. It looks a little off. Makeup is about as good as it's going to get. The clothes, I've had to kind of change clothes a couple times because it just isn't working. So I'm in just one of those body image funks, and that's okay. I'm going to acknowledge it. I will get out of it, but it is just, that's where unfortunately my time is being spent in my head in a negative way this time, and that's okay. So if you want to, please join in the chat with your rosebud thorns. I'm going to turn on a little bit of music, but obviously the opportunity to reflect not only on this past week, but also maybe this past month. But we definitely want to be there to celebrate those wins and acknowledge and provide some extra support for some of those thorns. We'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. There are certainly some wonderful things out there to celebrate, but definitely looks like some of our wonderful Sonder fam are going through some tough times. So just sending out the extra love, support needed for those as you start to navigate either the potential new normals, the unknowns. All of those things can certainly be challenging. But that is what's kind of nice about the rosebud thorn is being able to at least pull some of those thoughts and concerns from your head with the power of pen to paper, putting it down, putting it out into the universe in this amazing group as just this is kind of my reality at the moment. And we'll tackle it piece by piece or just acknowledge it. I feel like that was certainly what I embraced with momentum last month is that there are things you're not going to be able to control. Time is going to continue to march on, but it's making sure that I've got the confidence and the skills and the support and the love and all those things to tackle all of those unknowns coming at me. And so being able to then carry over those type of thoughts, it's more of, things are going to happen, but how can we prepare ourselves for those things in the best way we can? Thank you, everyone, for sharing. We are now going to move to the weekly planner portion. So again, this is going to be page 26 and 27 in your April journal. And as a general reminder, just because I present a topic in a particular way or there are particular examples, there are no right or wrong ways to set up your journal. A lot of times it's also good just to kind of ask yourself, what do I need? What do I want to accomplish this week? What are the things that can help me do that? Because a lot of times you can repurpose these things. If there are sections that just don't work for you that week, that's okay. Slap a big old sticker on it, put a big old X over it. Or I have also just ripped out pages, which I know sounds so bad, but breaking up with perfection, I don't want to look at it sometimes. So I just pull it out. Because at the end of the day, this shouldn't be negative. This shouldn't be triggering. This should be more tools in that tool belt for you so that you can accomplish your goals. Stretch yourself a little bit, but make sure that you can always come as you are. It is always here to help. It is only here to help maximize, but there is no right or wrong way to do this. So we're going to start at the top of page 26 with this week I want to feel. The way I approach this is I ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? And that is because, again, like I said, science mind, I want an end goal. I want something that is always going to bring me back to an equilibrium, back to an even keel. So when I get lost in the highs and lows and everything in between of the week, I can always come back to, well, how do I want to feel this time next week? How do I want my week to look? And with that kind of idea, you can absolutely pick a word, a phrase. Maybe it's just, I want to do 1% better. Maybe I want to feel more something or less something. Maybe I want to feel a new word each day because I have a new thing or something that needs to be done specifically for each day. So I can use that as motivation. Sometimes it is just a sticker. We've got amazingly positive stickers that are there. And then the other trend is just because we're framing this as like a word and it's a new week, it doesn't have to be a new word. If you're really trying to kind of solidify a routine or add some of the consistency, maybe this is your word of the year. So you keep coming back to revisit it. So just because it was the same word that you used last week, just because it's the same word you used last month, there is always an opportunity to embrace some of that consistency. So I'm going to put on a little bit of music and let us know how you want to feel this time next week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone. You can continue to put the way you want to feel this time next week in the chat, but it is a really kind of centering point I always use on this page, because then I will build what do I need to do in order to feel this same way that I want to feel this time next week. And so our next section, still on page 26, is those weekly major 3 goals. It could be weekly minor 3 goals. It could just be weekly goals. It could be 1 goal, 2 goals, 4 goals. Just because it says this, you can absolutely take any pen or pencil, rewrite it to whatever is going to speak to you. A lot of folks will tackle this using categories. So maybe it is a professional goal, a mind goal, and a body goal, or a mind, body, heart goal. The particular person was also wanting to feel calm, centered, and creative this week. So they had a goal for each of those ideas. So they wanted a calm mind, a strong and centered body, and a creative spirit. You can always, again, use favorite quotes, movies, seasonal reads, what you're excited about. We love good alliteration. So maybe a productive goal, a peaceful goal, a powerful goal, the frog, fun and fierce, if that's what you need. Same thing with the learn, leap into, and let go. And then you have the opportunity to potentially connect those 3 goals with your weekly to-dos. So the one on the bottom right is they have a mind, body, and spirit goal that are connected to the to-dos that they want to do to accomplish those particular goals. Or it can also just be the mental and emotional reminders of how you want to get through the week. So that can be the have fun, be kind, work hard. I'm a big fan of excuse myself from the unimportant. Or maybe you just want to use this section for your morning and evening routines, or maybe your exercise, all of those type of things, a self-care plan. But let us know, are you a categories person? Are you an alliteration category person? Or are you a stickers, or do you just pick kind of the 3 big things that you want to get done this week, and this is where they live? We'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Love seeing the different categories and the different approaches there. It is certainly, I think, a good way to take some of those, jumbled ideas, organize them a little bit, and then carry over into the weekly to-dos to help with prioritization. So for me in particular, this particular section doesn't change too much because a lot of it is more of, again, those emotional or mental reminders to help myself. It is then the weekly to-do section that tends to change. And that's just because the different to-dos that I need to get to done each week requires maybe a reprioritization, some restructuring, some organization, or sometimes it is just the random list of things that I want to actually accomplish. And so again, you can always have more of what we consider a traditional to-do list. I am a to-do list fan, which means I just have a mini celebration every time I accomplish something, because I'm a big fan of the gamifying satisfaction. But there are definitely times where I've got a lot of random things, or if I start to carry over too many things from week to week, which again, perfectly okay, but it probably means I need to look at it a little bit differently. And that's where I incorporate the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, or delete. But because I live by myself, delegation becomes a little tricky. But there are definitely times where I really am not in the mood to cook. I'm not in the mood to do dishes. So I will absolutely delegate my meals to a restaurant or pick up something on the way home. So that's always a quick, very satisfying delegation that I do. And then instead of delete or drop, because I feel like I've made it a to do for a reason, I will usually just delay. And that's me because it's not really on a timeline, or it's a timeline that's associated a little bit further. So it really just helps me with the prioritization there. So I definitely stick with the do, decide, delegate, and delay. And we had also talked about the Pomodoro technique. Bailey took an amazing quote of, eating the elephant, aka something really big, in very small bites with a side of Pomodoro sauce, because Pomodoro comes from the word tomato. So it is literally a tomato sauce. And that's where you have your tasks, your list of tasks. You set a timer and then work on that task. When the timer goes off, you can then, step away, relax, take a breath, or celebrate. Again, big fan of celebration. And you can continue to incorporate some of those different tasks under the Pomodoro. I also like to look, because there are times like randomly during the week where I don't have anything planned for the evening, but I have kind of some of that excess energy. So maybe that's a good time to kind of approach it on the Pomodoro side of like, I'm going to work on this task for a little bit of time. Because I certainly have found that there are days where you're just not in the mood, and that's okay. But I feel like that's also being realistic with your to-do list. And so that's where, Eisenhower matrix helps some of those, or you can still continue to gamify with a to-do bingo, a bingo board. Another tool that helps with prioritization is the need, want, and hope, or just the need and the want. So these are things you need to do, want to do, and hope to do, kind of similar to the Eisenhower matrix. And then another gamifying is the bottom right with a really lovely pyramid. So each time you accomplish one of your to-dos, you add it to your pyramid, and at the end of the day, you're at the top. But maybe your to-dos live somewhere else, either in the journal or on an app, or it's a kind of larger family or group to do. And so maybe this is just your reminder to be, these are your weekly to be's, or how you want to embrace play, or maybe this is where you track some exercise time, or maybe it's where you put your happy thoughts, your weekly wins. We talked about as a really fun way to kind of gamify and embrace the theme of play this month is we went down the like side quests or like missions to think of it as like end goal. So the bottom right one I loved, it was shared in Sonder Club last night, where they're going to attack all of these things. So these are their side missions that they need to accomplish. So to have weekly side missions or weekly side quests instead of to-dos, I think is a really fun, fantasy, whimsical way to approach this. As well as another prioritization is just here are the calls, the errands, the follow-up, and the schedules that you need to do. So let us know how you are going to attack your to-do list this week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing your to-dos and the way you approach it. I love that side quest is taking on because I mean, who doesn't love it calling it something just more fun, more whimsy, tapping into the playfulness. So why not call it your weekly quests, your weekly missions, all of those wonderful things, because at the end of the day, it's all going to get done because you have just a new perspective. And I'm a big fan of attitude is everything. Even I have to trick myself into doing it. So we are still on page 26. We're now at the bottom section with the habits and activities. So these are certainly things that you can pull over from your monthly tracker. The monthly habits and activities are the things that you kind of want to include that you want to do every single day. I will then bring 3 of those over into each week. My top 3, I'm a creature of habit, so it's always move, read, and journal. I just then add the reality lens of how much am I going to be realistically going to be able to move? Is it going to be kind of a traditional workout? Am I going to be able to do certain things like that? Or is it going to be, I am really too busy to function. So it's just going to be the 20-minute walking commute that I have to work that I need to incorporate. And I have found that when I add those type of expectations, because there are times where, meetings are not ones that you can control. Time is not always what you can control, but I can control my expectations on how I accomplish this. And sometimes you can set those types of goals, maybe a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 idea. Maybe you don't want to set those goals at all. And just because there are 5 items that are listed doesn't mean you need to do 5 different things. And sometimes these could be, again, the less like tangible activities or the less like things. And maybe these are just to remind yourself to be kind, accept yourself, read positive quotes, listen to upbeat music. And I love the dress in bright colors. I feel like that is such a very kind of simple way to really just brighten your day. So I love the ones on the bottom left as kind of fun things to do. And then we also know that sometimes your week and your weekends could look a little bit different. So maybe you have certain ones that you'll track during the week or certain things you want to accomplish on the weekend, or maybe you don't want to maybe you don't want to track things on the weekend at all because you want to be more present for things. Or if you have vacation or family coming up, my parents were here a couple weeks ago. I didn't fill this out at all for a week, and I was perfectly fine with that because at that point I was less concerned about my personal habits and activities, and it was just kind of hanging out and being present with my family. So you have those type of opportunities. And then we also know that there is an April bingo board out there in your journal. So here are some April self-care ideas. I love the good imagery of these, as well as some other ideas for how to have like a spring care, spring self-care. So if you need any of these to kind of not only fill your habits and activities, but also to carry over into your bingo board, these are always a great start. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Loved seeing all of your different things that you're working on, as well as additional ways to embrace the theme this month. We are going to now move to page 27, the second page. And these are certainly the repurposed pages, but just because they're repurposed doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. So the meal plan is, again, a great template that you can absolutely use for meal planning, but we do see quite a few folks use it a little bit differently. You know, this is where someone's daily to-dos list. This is where someone looks at one good thing. There are people that absolutely use it as a meal plan or kind of a budgeting meal plan. And yes, as Monica referred to it, this is my B-side. Again, like the record, I don't always use the B-side because I don't always listen to the B-side. But when there are some really amazing gems that are there, I am a big fan. You know, it's a great way to, if you're on some sort of health journey, a great way to tackle kind of intake and symptoms so that you can incorporate there. And then the meal plan can also be used as the meal plan for the soul, as journal prompts, something that you did well, something that made you feel good about yourself. You can use it to kind of add some of those reflection prompts or reflect on the day. A great way to track those affirmations that are in the Silk and Sonder app. Someone wanted to feel composed or, you know, strength this time next week. So they ask themselves, how did they show composure? How did they show strength today? You can also use it again for some of those gems. The clothing planner, it's absolutely amazing for that, or a packing list. If you're going on vacation, I use it for work travel to make sure that I have everything that I need so that I look nice. You can also use it as here are the things that you want to get accomplished on a daily basis. We also have some amazingly creative members of our Silk and Sonder fam. So they have the haikus that they do every day. And then carrying over into the mind body health plan, another one that we repurpose. And that is where you can, you know, use the alliterations, another opportunity to explore some of those prompts. Maybe it is I feel this, so therefore I need this, a way to look at each day. Maybe it's a mind, spirit, health plan. Maybe you just want to put some stickers out there. As we kind of embrace the theme of play, or kind of some of the synonyms of it, which are relax or rest. Maybe this is where you look at your 7 types of rest, or a reading log, the how do I care for myself, you know, those type of things. And then another one that also gets repurposed is that shopping list. And that where you can be everything from the daily rituals, the bingo boards. I know Jennifer O puts her bingo boards here. There are some self-care reminders. Again, maybe it's a sticker and an affirmation. Maybe it's some ideas to take breaks at work or breaks from kind of your day. Maybe this is where some of the Pomodoros will live, and so that motivation there, or the buy, don't buy, you know, the opportunities are endless here. So I'm going to give you some time to work on the second page and let us know if you repurpose some of these or if you are absolutely sticking to the meal plans, the mind body health plans, and the shopping list accordingly. Thank you everyone for sharing. Really appreciate seeing all of the repurposed ones and all the different ideas. I saw that Marcia was talking about how she can't quite find a way for the meal plan to work, and I'm definitely the same way, and it certainly is a little bit wasted. So it's always a good thing if you want to track maybe the affirmations or doodles or thoughts. I don't think there's a great way to, if you haven't quite figured it out yet, I think it's always one of those try it, see what happens, and then usually you'll then maybe eventually stumble upon it. But this is by no means something that gets solved overnight. It takes quite a bit of research, playing around with those type of things. But I have certainly leaned a little bit more into it on the reflection tool, just in the sense of adding in some prompts or using the app with the daily prompts and kind of just putting some thoughts in there. And then the bottom section is going to be the I am loving, which is an opportunity to just kind of pick a really great win or a not so, something that you really like, something that's making you happy, something that can be absolutely utterly random, but something to certainly make you smile is a good way to close out the week. And if you can believe it or not, we have actually reached the end of our time together. They always go by so quickly, but we are so glad that you joined us. We are so glad that you took the time to reflect and set aside time so that you can set up yourself for success this week. We are super excited to continue to explore this new month's theme of play with each and every one of you. If you want to share your weekly planner pages in the app, we would love to continue the conversation there. Also, if you're looking for more inspiration, you usually see kind of an uptick in app activity post these weekly setups. I know there are still some pages from yesterday's setup. There is one later today, so you'll certainly be able to get some of those inspirations there. Bailey's putting in some of the links into the chat, which will include the social survey at the end. We want your feedback. Same thing with that YouTube link. Unfortunately, with the events that happen on the weekends, they usually don't get posted until a little bit later on Monday, but they'll be there and you have the opportunity to review those type of things if you show up late, if you have to leave early, or if there's not something that works in your schedule at all. Here is my playlist. I will also include the Spotify link into the chat. But again, we were so excited to spend this Sunday with all of you. We're so excited to tackle the week ahead. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter for those that celebrate and enjoy the time with friends, family, and all that entails. But we are so glad that you joined us. We hope to see you at another social again soon. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Lying on the ground, oh, it's far too easy now to sing a sad song. To sing a sad song. Yeah. Lying on the ground never help no one. When you get knocked down, you know that you gotta get back up. Gotta get back up. Gotta look on the bright side. There's never been a better time. Spread a little happiness. Spread a little love. It only takes a little bit, but it'll be enough. When the world is cruel, turn your gray skies blue. It's up to me and you to spread a little happiness. Spread a little happiness. When the water's dry and there's no dry land, and your brother cries for you to lend that helping hand. Oh, lend a helping hand, yeah. Oh, we gotta look on the bright side. In the middle of the darkest night, where we can make the sun shine. When we spread a little happiness, spread a little love. Well,